one drinking beer. I'm drinking water.
2 touchdowns a game?
Yes, in the game. You're tripping. How you high? No,
It is Super Bowl time.
I don't know what we're doing in that front office, man.
Twiddling our fucking dick.
Ryan, I just need you to drink this.
Wide receiver trivia. That's what she said.
Her.
Fuck.
Her upset.
Are those crutches?
You can see Ryan's crutches.
What is going on, folks? We are back. We're so back. Back in the lab, boys. Welcome back after the episode 242. What kind of show this is. I am your co-host, Jimmy Brown.
I'm your other co-host, Malin Dennis.
And I'm your other great co-host, Nestor.
And I'm your last co-host that will ever be a co-host. Rolling in from PNW, G Money.
Gentlemen, thank you all for coming back after taking a week off last week. Still no June. I feel like we haven't talked to him in forever. But hopefully he'll be back next week. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back into the saddle how we usually do, which is by taking a cheers to start off this show.
There's vodka in here. Sorry, guys.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's a little sippy straw, too. Oh, that's bad.
Going back to Vegas this Sunday, so I'm using my Aria double shot glass.
Nice.
There you go.
How long are you guys going for?
A week.
5 days.
Nice.
Yeah, like Sunday to Friday.
Yeah.
Flying Sunday
you're
morning,
going-
fly out Friday afternoon.
Going back Sunday. That's
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Yeah. You wish you were going back Sunday, huh?
Well, my wallet sure doesn't. My wallet wouldn't allow me to go back this Sunday. But my soul does.
Uh-oh.
My wallet decided in November.
Executive decision.
We'll-
Yeah.
We'll talk about some gambling stuff off air later.
Yes.
Yes. I got
folks,
stories for you.
we are back with some NBA finals to get into. Last time we were on here, the finals were just about to start, and we kind of assumed that by the time we came back, it would be over. But it is not. We are currently sitting at OKC up 3-2 with Game 6 tomorrow night. So I feel like we should start off by just doing a check-in with the finals, see how we're all feeling now that half of the show's biggest villain in America is a game away from being champions. I feel like we should take a nice little pulse check and see how we're all doing here.
Jeez.
G-Money, let me start with you. What have you thought of this series so far?
It's gone basically the way I thought it would go. When Indiana has won, they've been getting threes from everybody, and OKC hasn't known how to handle that. But
brother.
Indiana can't handle OKC's defense. They just can't, and that's how I figured it would go. I thought there would be some close games. Actually, I thought they'd all be fairly close, and a couple games were not close at all. That did surprise me a little bit, but all in all, yeah, 3-2 Oklahoma, pretty much where I thought they'd be. I did think they'd win in 7. Didn't think that Halliburton was going to get a calf strain, and may play, may not play. I know he wants to play. We'll see. I mean, it's Game 6 at Indiana. Pretty much going to have to play if Indiana wants to win that game. But yeah, it's gone pretty much how I thought it would. Really good defense. It looked sloppy at times, but I swear that's the defense being played. They're cutting down the passing lanes. They're in people's faces. They're chippy. yeah, pretty much where I thought it would be. Probably a better series than if it had been, well, definitely a better series than if it had been OKC and the Knicks.
Got that right. Malin, what have you thought? We cannot hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, now, okay, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
See,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in an old Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? I don't like that Oklahoma's up 3-2 with Halliburton injured. It doesn't make me feel good. Now, Indiana has won with Halliburton having some off games. He has not played well this series. Could Indiana pull it back for Game 7? I think that crowd is going to be pretty raucous out there in Indiana. They got nothing really to do like people in Nebraska. So I don't know. If the gods are listening, I mean, listen, hey, Ice, go check out that arena tomorrow night. I'm just saying. Something, help me. Because I don't want to see Oklahoma City win it, man. I know I picked them saying they would because they should, but I don't want to see them. And Indiana gave me enough hope this series to maybe believe that maybe they wouldn't. And now that hope is dwindling, Jalen. I'm feeling sad. I'm very sad. I need a lot more bourbon to get through this if Oklahoma City wins one.
Nestor, what have you thought?
He's saying about Nebraska. You're muted, Nestor.
Sorry, guys, my dog.
Yeah,
I'm probably more knowledgeable about Love Island and Nebraska at this point than the NBA Finals, like most of America. But I figured it would be a matter of time before OKC took a lead in the series. I think these kids have started to grow into their own, and they're not these young inexperienced players anymore. We've seen them much better this season, so I think it was a matter of time. I didn't expect the Pacers to win some of the games that they did, so hats off to them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go into Indiana and they win. If they just go ahead and win the finals.
hurtful.
I would be. If this ends tomorrow night, I would actually be a bit surprised. Maybe not shell shocked, but I would be surprised. I really feel like Indiana is probably kicking themselves over game
4.
2. 2 is when they got blown out. Yeah, 4 was one that they were
Or they had
hanging
the
around.
lead in the fourth quarter, I think, with like 10 minutes left, didn't they?
Yeah, and
Like a
that's
slight
when
lead, or they were within 4 or something like that. Like they were, or I think they were within 4 with 10 minutes left, and then they just let OKC get away with them or from them.
Yeah, 2 was the game that we all knew the Thunder had in them, where they're just going to blow out whoever. It wouldn't matter who's on the other side. And then 4 was the game where Indiana was in control for most of it, and they just let the Thunder hang around, and then SGA closed them out in the last few minutes. And I feel like that was like, because they could have won.
Props to Jalen Williams. 40 point.
I know, man. They had a chance to go up 3-1. If Indiana goes up 3-1, man, I have a hard time believing that Oklahoma can pull a Cleveland with LeBron, but they didn't do it, man.
Yeah, and like Nestor was saying, J-Dub having that 40 bomb the other night to help them get to that third win, I mean, that was huge. They still feel like a college team to me. I can't lie. Like this finals hasn't really changed that. But on Indiana's side, I feel like their guards have done what they can do to try and at least slow down SGA, and in some games it seems to be working. But part of the problem is I think that like Nimhard especially, he's putting so much energy into defending SGA that it's affecting him on offense. He's not nearly as good on offense as he's been in previous series or just earlier on in the series. Same thing with like Matherin and Naismith. Those guys have not really shown up as well offensively as they have previously, and I think it's really hurting them because Indiana's offense as of late has looked really stale. It's like if it is not coming off of a fast break and they have to deal with a set OKC defense, they just can't seem to get anything going. But Miles Turner, he's my biggest bone to pick. He's disappeared. The man has completely disappeared. I know that he's got Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren to deal with, but I mean, he's got to get him something offensively because it is just the Pascal Siakam or Tyrese Halliburton show, and Halliburton is injured right now, so that's compromised. And Siakam obviously can't do it all on his own. He's not that good, so not looking good for the Thunder. Or sorry, it's looking great for the Thunder. Not looking good for the Pacers. However, I'm still picking them tomorrow night. I think this is going to a game 7. I'm sticking with my guns. Pacers in 7. So that's where I stand so far. Curious to know who you guys think wins Finals MVP at this point.
At this point, I mean, if the Thunder win, I mean, they're probably going to give it to SGA.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I mean, who are you going to give it to? Alex Caruso? What are we doing? Mr. Headband flopping everywhere. I swear to God, man, he's responsible for 89% of the fouls that Indiana commits. I swear to God, whenever there's a whistle, I look and there's Caruso's bald ass. It's doing something, man. Like, why aren't you in the trailer cooking meth, man? Like, why? Like, what are you doing? But yeah.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
unless
it's got to be SGA, I think.
Unless J-Dub goes off for another 40 points tomorrow night.
40 points.
I can't see a world where he doesn't get it.
Yeah, J-Dub would need 2 like 35, 40-point games. I mean, that's kind of how Jaylen Brown took it from Tatum. Tatum was really consistent. He scored more points, but like Brown had those defining games and those defining moments. And SGA hasn't necessarily had that. Even when he's had good scoring nights, it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. Because he's just so consistent. I mean, that's what you get when you get these quiet ass Canadians just out there playing basketball. You don't realize how much points they're scoring. It's kind of like, the freaking Joker, man. The Joker just dreams about his horses and scores 41. So you could see it, but I think SGA is going to get it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you guys. SGA, I mean, J-Dub would not just have to have another 40-point night, but probably 40 points, 12 boards, probably 8 or 9 assists, 3 or 4 steals, and a block. And they'd have to go 7, and he'd have to score. He would. I mean, for people to look and go, oh yeah, he's the MVP. He'd have to have a game like that. I mean, having a 40-point game, that's cool, and you won the game. But they just look at SGA and they're like, well, he's the league MVP, and he's averaging 30 points a game. So it's if OKC is to win tomorrow night, and J-Dub goes off, goes freaking 8 for 8 from 3-point land, scores 45 points, has like 8 assists, 8 boards, 3 or 4 steals and a block, then I think at that point it would be fresh. OKC had just won, then he would get the MVP. But if he doesn't, then it's going SGA.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna take a just ridiculous stat line for him to overtake SGA. Yeah, we can move on from this. I do want to mention the Lakers being sold today. So unless you guys have something else you want to add to the finals, we can move on to that.
Well, the interesting thing about that, right, is they're saying, well, the Lakers were sold. Well, majority interest were sold. The Bucks still own a small percentage, and the gentleman that bought the team had a minor owned a minor percentage of the team anyway. Plus, of course, he owned the Dodgers. I mean, Jesus Christ, how rich do you have to frickin' be to own the Dodgers, sign everybody in Major League Baseball who's anybody to play on your team, and then go, you know, what's this I have under the bed? Oh, look, I have $10 billion just under the bed. You know what? I want to let me buy the majority ownership in the Lakers. It's not like when Boston was sold and they bought the team, and there were no really minority owners. They bought everybody out. With the Lakers, he didn't buy the team per se. He bought a majority of the ownership of the team. So, you know, it's like, okay, that's a shitload of money. I mean, what the Celtics sold for 6.7 billion? Just like a year ago that they sold the Celtics, $10 billion, and you don't have full ownership of the team. $10 billion. That's crazy. That's just a crazy number. Plus, it's going to increase what the NBA is going to look at for the 2 expansion teams. Because I think they were looking initially at like between 5 and 6 billion for the 2 expansion teams. Yeah, you can probably tack on minimum half a billion and probably $1 billion for the next 2 expansion teams. Which Mel and I are hoping it's Seattle and Vegas, but they seem to be taking their sweet time on that. So I may be freaking demented and shitting myself by the time Seattle gets a team. And Malin will be like 65 years old.
And Nestor will be living in Nebraska.
Hey, it only gets cold there a little bit. A little cold, man. Just a little cold.
Columbia, Nebraska.
Yeah, they talk about like just total opposites.
Sarasota. Never lived in Columbia.
Remember, we had to say that.
Total opposites. Sarasota. I mean, you know, Southern Florida basically could be considered Columbia. You know, it could be. You go down there, you know, a lot of Hispanics, Latinos down there. I'm just saying, you know, I know that the president, when he goes down there, he gets confused half the time. Well, confused most of the time. He goes down there, you know, he's confused. He thinks he's in Columbia too. It's okay. You go to Nebraska, you'll be confused and think you're in like at the North goddamn pole.
I will say this, Jalen. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why he spent $10 million to have a controlling interest in the team.
Yeah.
Yet he allows Jeannie Buss to still hold the position within the organization to control the team. What type of... Because, yeah, it's an investment, but, man, you got to wait a long time to get a return on that investment. You put $10 million down, and you're not even... you're not even putting... Like G Money said, like you're getting a majority stake You're not getting the whole stake.
Yeah.
For 10 billion. So the Bus family, I feel like they had to do it. I feel like it was time for them to do it. They couldn't keep up the legacy. It was kind of like Red Auerbach at some point, like a magic runs dry with a name or a family name. You know what I mean? And with the Celtics, with Auerbach, he didn't own the team, but he ran the team for so many years, and there was a lot of magic there. And then you got the Bus family that came in. I mean, they had won 5 titles when they were the Minneapolis Lakers. But I mean, I think they won 10 titles alone when Dr. Bus was owning the team. Like, he brought a resurgence to the Lakers that even at the time the Celtics scoffed at, that they didn't think he was going to be able to do. And I just like even though they had a controlling interest in the team, the Bus family, like, they were losing money. They didn't have a whole lot of money. They didn't have a whole lot of equity. Everything was tied up in the team. And so this gives them $10 billion. There's a lot of money, and they're still going to run the team. They're still going to run the franchise. So I don't necessarily see a loss for them, except for this guy at any point with a majority share could be like, Genie, you're out. You know what I mean? Unless there's something in the contract that he can't do that for a set amount of time. But I see it coming. But good for it happening, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, kind of to piggyback on what Mayon said about Jeannie Buss being the governor. You can be the governor of the team and still not have a whole lot of power. When Mark Cuban sold his controlling interest in the Mavericks, he thought he was still going to have a say over baseball operations, and
Basketball.
he did not have that, did he? When they traded Doncic. When the Celtics were sold, they kept the previous owner in his position as governor there, and basically a lot of that has to do with this transition. Just because you announce the sale, it still takes a while for that sale to go through. And so you're looking at probably a year or so before that everything's finished. So I see Jeannie Buss staying in the position she is. But if you look at what Weathers did when he bought the Dodgers, he looked for the best front office people to bring in. He hired the GM from the Tampa Bay Rays, brought him in. He goes out and he gets the best people. The Lakers really didn't do that. They hired from within. If you look at all their GMs, they were either hired from within, or they had a connection to the Lakers. I think that's going to change. I think not this season, this coming season, but the next season. I think Jeannie Buss will be governor by title only. I don't think she's going to have the same power that she had when they owned the team. So, right now. But
the person that bought the Lakers, was he a part of an ownership group, or was it just one individual person?
It was just him.
It was just him? Okay, because I know he's a part of the ownership group of the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's a majority owner of the Dodgers, so he put up the majority of the money, which is crazy, right? Because it's like, how do you? I mean, for us, it's like just astronomical numbers, right?
Like, do we know anything about him? Is he even a sports fan? Does he like sports, or is he just buying up these things like his toys, man? I mean, the Lakers are one of those predominant teams in just American sports, right? And you have it more in football than a lot of other sports now. But they were one of those predominant teams. It was like a family-run operation. You know what I mean? Like, this guy had it, and then he gave it to his kids, and it was like a family-run, like, the Steelers come to mind. The Cowboys come to mind, where, like, you're like a family run. They had it, and someone else had it, now someone else has had it. Now the Ursays come to mind with his crazy ass daughters that wears headsets. on the field because they need to know what every coach is saying. I don't know if you guys read that story. Wild. But it feels like we're losing a little bit of like old time sports a little bit, you know, like when the Bus family's not controlling the Lakers, like it seems less like, hey, this family is like just running this ship. So that's a little bit sad to me. Because the last thing I want is just like corporations and all these groups buying up all these teams, and then you kind of lose like all these teams that are run by individual families. Like they have a little bit of an identity, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we know the Cowboys can be crazy as shit, not just because of the star, but because of Jerry Jones. You know what I mean? Like they're in the family. You know, how much more corporate are these ownership, you know, things going to become?
It's giving
So
private
it's
equity.
sad.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, they're going to be. That's going to be the coming thing because, quite frankly, there's not a lot of individuals out there that have that type of money laying around that they can just go buy a sports team, not just buy the team, but then have money to run the team.
Right.
Because it's one thing to come up with, you know, between $2 billion and $10 billion to buy the team. You've got to meet payroll. You've got to be able to pay all your staff, everything else. So, you know, it's really difficult for an individual to have that type of wealth to buy a team and then run it. And you asked about Weathers, who just bought the majority interest in the Lakers. When he bought the Dodgers, the first season they didn't make the playoffs. Made playoffs 6 years after that, 4 times to the World Series and won the World Series twice. So I don't know if he's a sports fan or not, but he sure as hell can make winners.
He'll definitely put up money. That's for sure. And they can do it creatively like they did with Ohtani. There's got to be some creative ways you can do it.
Yeah,
Lakers are in corporate
They'll
gridley
be-
era.
Oh, don't
Somebody
get it.
made that comparison with the Dodgers. Like somebody was like, "So are the Lakers going to be run like the Dodgers are being run right now?" Because that would be insane.
That's why you got to get rid of Jeannie Buss, though, man. Like, I don't understand why you keep Jeannie Buss, because Jeannie Buss is part of the problem with the Lakers. Like, I know they want.
Well, you have to, though.
I know they.
It's just it's a continuity thing that you have to, because the sale still has to go through, right? So you have to. So basically, you keep a continuity thing. But just because you keep her in that position doesn't mean that she has the power that she once had.
Yeah.
You better not be calling
That can be a position of title only and not power. And I guarantee you, if not this season, but next season, Lakers probably have a new GM, because quite frankly, except for the fleecing of the Dallas Mavericks, there's not a lot that Pelinko's done as a GM that's really helped the Lakers.
That's only because he knew somebody too. So
That's exactly. Well, that's because he was. Who was he? He was the agent for Kobe Bryant.
yeah, we all
That's
know
who he was.
We all know that when Dr. Buss died, like his kids made a mess of that franchise for a long time. There are all kinds of power struggles. I mean, shit, dating Phil Jackson, and where was he in the whole? You know what I mean? Like, it got weird, right? And outside of getting Luca, man, all they do is just bot shit, all the time. I mean, they did get a title out of getting LeBron there in LA, but then
And
they
getting AD.
Then they
I
just
mean,
get rid of
those
everybody.
two trades, right? Getting Anthony Davis and then getting Luca. And in both cases, they robbed the Pelicans and the Mavericks. And I don't understand either one. I don't care. Well, in the Pelicans' place, I don't care that AD wanted out. You get a lot of shit for him. You don't get a bunch of, middling players and some draft picks that aren't going to be worth shit. And in Lucas, my God, I wouldn't. No, not even to the Lakers, because they didn't have any capital to give you, and you didn't even get a first round pick from like 2031. I mean, the Don't even get me started. I'm just going to
Yeah,
stop right now.
I think that one was more Nico Harrison, but I think the AD trade, I don't even credit that to the Lakers. I give that to Rich Paul and LeBron for them getting him there. But I also was just reading that Mark Walter also is a minority owner in Chelsea football club.
Oh shit.
This
Okay.
man, he's got his tentacles in everything. What makes sense?
Whatever he did in life is better than what I've done. That's for damn sure. Jesus Christ.
I think all four of us combined.
You got a ownership stake in three of the
Yeah.
recognizable franchises in all of sports. And you're the majority in two of them. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to be his friend.
Those parties must be insane.
What's his name? How do you pronounce it?
Mark
name?
Walter.
Mark Walter. Okay, we are about to be the Mark Walter fan base show of record. You'll never hear us say a bad thing about you. We got some business ventures if you ever want to hear them, buddy. It's not quite the Lakers or the Dodgers or Chelsea, but we got some ideas.
We're the
Vegas,
biggest
sir,
sports
Vegas.
podcast in North Tampa, in the North Tampa region. We are the biggest sports podcast. So if you want to be a minority owner,
we might
give
be
us a
the
call.
longest. Might be the longest running. I don't know where the.
I'm going to say both. And you could be minority owner by putting in $10, sir. Just throwing it out there. All right, let's get to some comments because I just decided to pull them up preemptively here, and some of you guys seem to have gone in on this Aaron Rodgers Steelers thing. I didn't even notice that until just now. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers signed with the Steelers literally the day after we recorded our last episode, if I recall correctly. Like we were literally talking about it on the show. And then
That was hilarious.
the following afternoon, the news broke. So we haven't been able to talk about this for a while. So, yes. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers is officially a Steeler. And on TikTok this morning, I asked you guys, Steelers fans specifically, how they like the signing. I just generally said I still don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. But let's kind of hop into some of these comments here. I'm reading all these for the first time, so bear with me. Reese says he's better than Mason Rudolph. That's all that matters. Little Bub says love it. Grace the Golden will probably be mid like Russ and Fields. Cat emoji says tank and draft a good QB next year. Zach Bum says don't love, but tanking doesn't work in the NFL, so they might as well keep pushing for playoffs. Laugh-a-Traff says I didn't like it, but I think regardless of how we do, I think we have enough draft capital to get a high first rounder for our QB. 12-14-23 says I'm a Packers fan and I think Rodgers gets way too much hate. Rodgers still had a good numbers last year with the dog shit team. He's old, but he's not done. I'm rooting for him and the Steelers, and I think they'll surprise people. All said. Justin says, with the alternatives being Mason Rudolph, of course they are happy. Ball up top says, Aaron had a great career, but it's time to hang up the cleats. Birdman says, yeah, makes the season interesting at least, but something to talk about.
Here's the two reasons why it's interesting to me, or why I think it's a good pickup. Was one, you didn't overpay. Took what, like a $10 million deal with some incentives. So he wasn't asking to break the bank, which I kind of thought he might ask for a lot more money and hold the Steelers hostage. But when you get to that point, there's really not that much money there. You're paying him $10 million. So I mean, you're paying him a hell of a lot less than the Seahawks paying Sam Darnold that flamed out the last 2 games of last year. Hell of a lot less money than the Raiders are paying, Geno Smith. I think you're paying him just a little bit more money than what did Justin Fields sign for around $10 or $18 million or $8 million, something like that.
I think he was
I
right
mean,
around
you're
that 10 mark.
right around the 8 to 10, right? So, would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or Justin Fields on your roster right now? He showed up for minicamp. Yeah, he's older, man, but I don't know. To me, I think there's enough there to where they can still stay competitive. I agree with that one person that you keep pushing for the playoffs, because I don't think it makes you a Super Bowl contender. But what's your alternative? Mason Rudolph? Like, when you only have Mason Rudolph and you can sign Aaron Rodgers for $10 million, I can't really fault you for doing that. All I know is the last time that a team signed a quarterback that beat them in the Super Bowl previously, it didn't work out that well for the Broncos when they got Russell Wilson. But then again, they were paying him a shit ton more money. So I don't know. It looks weird seeing him in a Steelers jersey, but we'll see, man. Can they keep the Tomlin winning streak alive? Is the biggest question. Like, that could be a big hit on his legacy if Tomlin ends up with a losing record with Aaron Rodgers. They'd be like, "Oh shit, Aaron! Like, what did you do?"
Yeah.
So there is going to be some pressure there. There will be pressure there. But for $10 million, man, I can't fault him for doing it. I mean, I don't want to go to battle with Mason Rudolph by any means. And it's their own fault. The Steelers did this in themselves. They stayed away from everybody else. They could have re-signed Russ. They could have re-signed Fields. They could have drafted somebody. But like they did this to themselves.
Yeah,
So
to think that they
DK
could have
Metcalf.
had Shador Sanders and then Aaron Rodgers, like the polar opposites were available to them. And they opted for the latter here.
Well, one's driving 101 miles an hour and getting pulled over, and the other one is damn near 100. So,
Yeah. I mean, Malin's right. And $10 million on someone who I thought was going to be wanting probably upwards of 40. You take a roll on the guy. It surprised me that he signed right after we were talking. I think I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure he was listening to our show. Pretty sure that Aaron Rodgers was listening to our show. He heard what we said, and he goes, "Fuck you guys. Fuck AFR. I will show you. I will sign tomorrow, and I will show up, and I will be there in minicamp, and I will be there in training camp." I can't. I have no solid proof of that. However, I believe that to be true.
He couldn't sleep on a Wednesday night. It was like, what is this?
Yeah. That's it, man. I'm
I
doing
will
it.
say this.
But
I love the meme that shows, the Steelers signing Aaron Rodgers at 40 plus is like having the crush on the hottest girl in high school. And then after she gets a body count over 50, she's ready to settle down, and then she wants to date you. Like, that's pretty much he was real sexy like 15 years ago. It was real hot. Now the downstairs looks like an old Arby's roast beef sandwich, and you're like, God damn it.
I mean, I was gonna say, I could add on to that, but
Please don't.
We don't
I think-
have to.
but I have not had so much alcohol that I would just lose all my inhibitions and be that drunk G Money who says shit he should never say.
I thought he was going to talk about old roast beef sandwiches, and I was like, Gary, don't.
I was going to say something, and when we're off the air, I will say it, but not now.
Okay. That's
Would not be appropriate.
You know
Well,
it's
I'm
bad.
glad.
even
I'm
when they
glad
say
that your.
a
I'm
pro
glad your
player.
inhibitions are still there, sir. Oh God, it's canceled there.
Let's go to the poll that we had. This was for Game 5 of the finals, so obviously it's already done. Poll results. This was actually pretty damn close. There was 48 people said Thunder, 46 said the Pacers. So this was like almost down the middle. Of
Yeah.
folks who there was a lot of people that really thought the Pacers were gonna come through. And the comments were full of just Pacers fans coming through. So
I think Indiana gave people a belief that they could possibly do it, and that's where a lot of that came from. Because if you'd have done that poll before Game 1, who was going to win Game 5, it probably would have been a lot more heavily favored OKC. But good on Indiana swinging voters.
shout out to our very own Bridget with top comment. Says, Pacers, let me win my money back, please. She may have put some money on the Pacers money line on Game 2
Hey,
while in
they want
Vegas.
to talk to me about betting, man. The first two games, they ended up 1-1, which is what you and I both predicted. But you picked the right games. I picked the wrong ones. You ended up 2-0. I ended up 0-2. Bullshit.
Yeah, yeah,
One and
yeah. That was
one.
bad.
They still ended up 1-1. Semantics. Bullshit.
Speaking of that, let's hit the ride or die in 5 at this point.
Mm, mm.
Game 5 is tomorrow night, gents. Now this is indeed
Game 6.
sorry,
Game 6.
Game 6 is tomorrow night. This is actually the last ride or die in 5 pick for the rest of this NBA season. So until September, this is it. So tomorrow night, 8:30, we'll go on our usual rotation. G Money, who have we got?
You know, I'm concerned about Halliburton because they really do need his scoring. With a calf strain, not quite sure, how well you're going to play, and what exactly are they going to do to enable you to play like you did before the strain? If you were playing at 95%, I would go Indiana. I would go Indiana because I picked OKC in 7, but you know what? As much as it pains me, as much as I'm thinking there's going to be like an F5 tornado hitting OKC and just wiping it out, OKC is winning. OKC wins Game 6, and they are NBA champions.
I hope you almost just shit yourself or threw up in your mouth when you said that.
I cannot switch up at this point. This series has gone according to my script almost perfectly. So I think now I did not script Halliburton hurting his fucking leg, but that aside, they'll shoot him up with whatever tomorrow night. He'll go out there and play just fine. I think tomorrow night we're gonna forget that he even has a calf injury. So I think the Pacers will hold down their home court. They'll have Reggie Miller and Caitlin Clark all clapping up a storm. The whole city will be going crazy because the entire population of Indiana will be at that game. The OKC, I think they're going to take their foot off the gas a little. They've just played 2 excellent games in a row. They know they have some room to work with because they've got the final game back at home. So they know there's some room for error here, I guess you can say. I think Indiana's going to come out here and force a Game 7 back in OKC on Sunday. I forget which day it would be on. I think it's Sunday, though. But, give me Indiana at home for Game 6. Give me Halliburton to have probably like a 20-point game, nothing crazy. I think Siakam's gonna have a great game. He's probably gonna have like 29, 30 points. Miles Turner still won't come through huge offensively, but I think he'll hit some big shots down the stretch. Like they're gonna need the whole committee to come through collectively to force a game 7. Yeah, I will take Indiana game 6 mainly.
Terrible. Nothing good to like. Other than, you know what? Money and I were wrong on game 1 and 2. You were right about game 1 and 2. And you picked the Pacers. I'd love for you to be right about the Pacers. I just off of. I mean, I know that Halibut's been fried up a little bit, and he had been playing a really good series. Got the calf strain. If they got to have him do like a line of coke off a corn of the cob, then that's what they got to do. I'm gonna go ahead and take Pacers in this game, please. Indiana, if you've ever done one fucking thing besides produce a fictitious greatest basketball movie of all time, The Hoosiers, win this fucking game to stave off what I feel might be the inevitable heartbreak that I might endure. And if game 7 is in Vegas, Gary, maybe we're watching game 7 in Vegas. Probably not. We're going to be drinking and gambling and eating some good food. And at that point, I'm not going to give a shit about the NBA Finals when I'm back in Vegas. I didn't give a shit about the NBA Finals when I was in Vegas last week, to be honest with you. I forgot there was an NBA when I was in Vegas. So yeah, I'm taking Indiana. Let's go. Come on, 2 closets, Nestor. Home. What's happening?
Yeah, I think OKC wins and we can put these finals to bed. I think Indiana won't force enough out of OKC to extend the series. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think that OKC defense put in some good work. I think they're going to do the same, just enough. So I expect a good game from, a consistent game from SGA, and then everybody else is going to ball just enough. So, yeah, give me OKC.
Hurtful.
Mm.
I don't fault you for the pick. Hurtful.
He didn't even try and Nestor us by saying that the Pacers were going to win.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he didn't try to Nestor us. We'd have to be underage if he tried that. Yeah, I don't even know why I said that. That's a mean joke. I apologize. That was out of bounds. It's not true. Not true. Nestor, in fact, likes cougars more than bunny rabbits.
Cougars in Nebraska, everybody.
Not even.
Which I had to pull it up on the U.S. map. It is actually a state. It is in
It's part of the 50.
I'm
50.
shocked.
In fact,
Is it
it's
close
part
to
of
Right
the
Vegas?
above Kansas,
48
actually.
too. Like it's more of
I
a
mean,
state
it's-
than Hawaii and Alaska because it's connected to everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's closer to Vegas than what Florida is, but there's nothing there. There's fucking, you know what? I mean, there's absolutely nothing there.
Nothing. You got the
Nice.
Nebraska.
I mean, you don't even have anything. You don't even have like
Hey,
something worth seeing
Caitlin Clark is there.
Is she from Nebraska?
in Nebraska.
Nope,
I
not
thought she was
Nebraska.
from like Iowa or
Iowa
Indiana
State.
or somewhere.
I was getting flyover states confused. You're right.
She almost got her.
I mean, it's easy enough to do.
The same.
I mean, the Cornhusker State. What type of fucking nickname is that? It's like the Corn Cob State. It's like the Cornhole State. I
They'll
mean,
show you what
I mean,
to do with a corn husk.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just kind of.
They
Just ask
repurposed that shit.
ChatGPT. The slogan for Nebraska is the good life.
Ah,
Yeah, okay.
If you take a bunch of people from Nebraska down to Louisiana and have a low country boil, and they see all that corn, they're gonna think you invited them to a group orgy. All right, they're just gonna get really excited. Not even care about the crawfish. Just gonna get real excited. They'll be like, "Oh, this kind of party. That's what we doing." They're not even gonna use the two little prong things that most Americans use to handle the corn. It's gonna get deep in it.
all right. We need to
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah, we
I
need to
feel like
get out of
we-
here.
we
There ain't nothing
gained-
else going on. I know this is a short episode, but like,
Just to make it a few minutes longer.
Uh-huh.
Hey, there's one.
Speaking of the NBA,
Back to
Just
back,
saying.
how
baby.
fucked up can the New York Knicks be? How fucked up can the New York Knicks be?
Yeah, they look pretty stupid.
You
right
fire your head coach who takes you to the Eastern Coast, and you don't have anybody set up, so you try to hire someone else's head coach. What world does that work in? I mean, they're like, everybody's going like, yeah, no. I'm like, you didn't have a plan. I mean,
you know what?
any other team would have a plan. You know, we're going to fire this guy. We're going to hire this guy. You know, we're not going to try and hire someone else's head coach unless we have to trade for him, which teams aren't going to do. So I want this either I want a college coach, which, by the way, the two college coaches that weren't even interviewed said, yeah, fuck no, we don't want that job. You would think that New York City would be like the big place to, yeah, hey, it's New York City. Everybody wants to go to New York City. Nobody wants to coach there. They're like, they're going to land up getting some assistant coach from
Nebraska.
Portland or New Orleans or the head coach of the University of Nebraska go coach the Knicks.
You want to know what the whole coaching thing reminds me of, Jalen? Is you remember when LeBron James, before he made the decision, and the Knicks were like, "We're going to get LeBron James," and then they didn't get LeBron James, and you're like, "You know what's going to keep us relevant? If we get Amari Stoudemire." You know what I mean? Like they're swinging for a LeBron James coach, but they're going to get an Amari Stoudemire caliber coach. Is what's going to happen. And I don't even think an Amari Stoudemire caliber coach is there. James Dolan is just one of the worst owners in sports. But I think it's funny, and I think Knicks fans deserve it. Talking all that shit after Tatum got hurt.
Yep.
So fuck them and the Brooklyn Bridge they rode in on.
All right. On that note, let's wrap this thing up. Be sure to come back next week, folks. We will have the return of possibly June Bucks bait, but we will for sure have the return of What's Up With That, our fan favorite segment.
I will not be here next week.
Neither will I.
Oh, that's right.
We will.
In Vegas.
I mean,
going to
yeah. I mean, that'll be a Wednesday night. Yeah, we'll be.
That's just going. So
yeah.
we may not have an episode.
I've done. Nestor, you got to be there, man. Come on, man.
I mean, do it. Don't go to Nebraska. Nebraska, don't go. Don't go to Nebraska.
I remember the last time I was on a vacation, and I think it was Hilton Head 2 years ago. And the last thing I knew, like, I ended up signing in and doing half the show with Jalen because it was just him, and he seemed so sad and lonely. It was just him. He was just talking to himself. So I felt like he needed somebody to talk to. And so I was drunk as hell on the beach, man, and just called in for like the last, 30 minutes of the show to get somebody. So Nestor, man, you got to be there because the last thing you need is one thing when G Money and I do the show from Vegas when we're planning on it. What you don't want is an impromptu visit of G Money and I.
Oh,
That is not what you want. Because that would be good. So Nestor, we need you there next week. Because if I tune in and I see Jalen just all by himself, I'm gonna feel obligated to call in. And if I mention that G Money that I'm calling in, then G Money's calling in, and at that point, like he might get divorced because we might miss $100 night, and my mom will be angry, and we don't need all this. So you just need to be there, Nestor. Just make it happen, Captain.
Yeah, 25th. I'm just gonna land in Cancun, so I'm not gonna be partying that night too much. So I'll be there.
So we need to rely heavily on June here. We need June, or we need what are the brothers from DC that don't actually know shit about sports, but we can bring them in on a pinch? What are their names?
Morgan and Ryan.
Morgan and Ryan. Yeah, they don't know shit about sports, but you can bring them in, or even Evan, the resident Giants and Ravens fan. We can bring Evan in.
He's too cool.
TJ Wood.
If you want, I could talk to the Sphere in Vegas. I could talk to the Sphere in Vegas and see if Shaq wants to come on the show.
Yeah,
that's probably not going to work.
Give it a nod.
He's too busy. He's too busy having his forehead and creating lights on the Sphere. So that probably ain't going to work. All right, June. I know you're listening somewhere, hopefully, but better be there next week.
June.
All right. Well, gentlemen, hey, after that next week, we start the rundown of division takes and stuff like that, right? We got to start doing the division takes. Football start ramping back up.
Yeah, once July comes around.
We'll be
right there.
Nice. All right, gentlemen.
Until next week, folks. Thank you all for watching, listening. Coin flip on next week, so we'll keep you in the loop. See ya.
Yo.
Peace out, guys.